Hi everybody. I have a zit in my face. I don't want to talk about it. Let's just move on to the video. So, I want to talk about productivity today as a freelancer because out of all the things next to getting clients, I think maintaining productivity and a system was like one of the hardest things for me to do. And I'm going to talk about all the reasons I messed up. And on one hand, I waited to kind of talk about this because it's hard when you make your own schedule, because there's a lot of people out there who are like working 9 to 5s, and this advice may or may not apply. Now, as always with me and how I film videos, I'm going to talk about more of the psychology of productivity than because I can give you, and I'll get into my day-to-day system, but it's just people who endlessly chase hacks, and they want the newest app that's going to somehow make them productive, and that's not how it works. There is no app out there, and believe me, I have tried and purchased every single one of them, and I still use pen and paper because I'm just not happy. I mean, okay, I'm not that archaic. I use Google Calendar, but I think that there's a lot more mindset into being productive as a freelancer than a lot of people talk about. I'm not just to sit here and give you all the apps I use, because you'll have the apps and you still won't understand the mentality behind everything. So if you're just looking for hacks and apps, see you later. This isn't your video. I'm so sorry. This isn't it. But let me tell you what I did wrong and how I have fixed that. So what I used to do was just work 80 hours a week and no vacations, no fun, completely ruined a ton of relationships with my workaholism. Didn't go out, didn't see friends, didn't have time. It was a really bad life choice. I'm gonna be honest. It was not a good, the first year or two of freelancing, I was not smart with it, which is why I make these videos. So y'all can maybe not, ooh, y'all, that came out hard. I'm not even from the South. And so maybe you can not make these horrific mistakes that I made. Now, don't get me wrong. The first little bit, I can't pretend you're gonna just breeze through and be able to set up these systems as a starting freelancer who doesn't have your name out there and just be able to follow these. But let me just dive into it. I also sacrificed my health really bad, and I should have known better as someone who was a personal trainer for a while. Didn't matter, just completely sabotaged everything, in the sake of work. So, pro tip, don't do that. So, now, if you want to skip listening to me for 10-15 minutes, lol, it's already 3 minutes, I'm not even into the start of the meat of the video, here's some books I recommend. Never Eat Alone. Now, first of all, be ready, the author talks about how great he is for 80% of the book, so, you can just skip all that. And his little nuggets in there on, actual things to do and how to do them are interesting. You can just, he really thinks he's really great, and maybe he is, I don't know, but he'll tell you about it. So keep that in mind, but it's a really good book on networking, period, and something that I'll dive into in a bit. First Things First by Stephen Covey, another one that's really important. Deep Work is the most important book on the planet for freelancers and anybody who wants to work in creative. Anyone who has a job, anyone who lives on this planet needs to read this book, period. Forget everything I've ever said, forget anything else in this video. If you don't read this book by Cal Newport, you're missing out. This is the best book on focus in the world. And Cal Newport also has a great blog on the internet. I'll put resources and links to all of this down below, and also blogs I liked that talk about all of these same topics, and interviews with Cal on that really changed my mind. And it's a short read too. Look, it's really short, and there's a lot of action steps in here, which is my favorite part, how to implement this, not just oh, this is really great if you can focus. It's here's what to do to focus, and here's how. Okay. Also, High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard. Now, this book is really next level for once you're at a more comfortable level, and not scrambling and panicking, and really, really, really in the mindset of how to, there's section 2 on high performance habits, and it's really a really, really good one on the next level. Once you're comfortable, how to really, really grow from there, mentally and with your productivity and socially and happiness and all of the like bigger parts, like why we all freelance. So to have the freedom to implement stuff like this. And then also a book I don't have because I lent it to a friend, Atomic Habits by James Clear. If habits are everything, and habits are the essential and the backbone to everything I'm going to talk about today. And this is the best book on habits ever. Okay, let's get into the meat of the video. So, psychologically, the few things that like really help me stay productive are what I call, and I can't remember where I got this from, but the pillar of stability. And it's like your house, your relationship, and like your money. And keeping those three things semi-stable, which is why sometimes I don't recommend that everybody just like quit their job and go freelance, because that throws the money aspect into chaos sometimes. And when those three things are stable, you have the freedom to take risks and try new things and like really when you're freelancing and you own your own thing and any of those, a family member gets sick, you don't have enough money to pay your bills, like things get desperate, and this is where chaos ensues, like just pure chaos, and you're not making decisions from a rational point of view. Like this is when in my life I've taken like $5 per blog post kind of panic assignments, and they paid the bills, which is true, but the burnout rate from that is so astronomical that I just don't know if it's worth it. You might as well like sell things on eBay for that point, like of pure panic. So tripod of stability, keep those in order. And then, I mean, we've all been there where like you lose your job and then all of a sudden like that stability starts crumbling. Now, of course, not everybody has control over all those. A lot of those are outside of your control. I get that. But focusing on that, like all of that. Oh, I'd also add like your health in there, which is something I didn't do. So sleeping well, making sure you're going to the gym, working out, cutting off work at a certain point, taking days off, like, and it feels like you can't fit a lot of that in, but surprise, you can fit a lot more of that in if you start cutting out unnecessary bullshit, which is why you need to read Deep Work by Cal Newport. Focusing on things. And then like setting boundaries is a huge thing. Saying no to things, keeping your phone away from you while you work, really focusing when it matters, not being distracted, not watching YouTube while you work, something I was guilty of for a lot of years, still guilty of every now and then, and really, really focusing on getting things done. And that is how I can work 6 hours a day, sometimes for 4 days a week, and then take the weekends off. Now, that's not all the time, and that's not like, I'm not just saying like, oh, that's the dream, but like when you really, that's the beautiful part about freelancing, is because you have control over it, you can do things like that. And when you really, really focus and get work done it's just like when you have a deadline, right? Like think of how when you had a deadline, how fast you could get things done, and you just need to implement those kinds of strategies in your life all the time. I'm not saying panic, and I'm not saying leave things to the last minute, but that kind of dedicated focus is so important. So now let's get into the nitty gritty of how I plan and how I stay productive. So yes, I actually made notes this time, because comments keep roasting me on like how I need to make notes. Surprise, I made notes and I still will talk forever. So joke's on you. However, the first thing I do, I have yearly goals, I have quarterly goals, monthly, weekly, daily. So basically so I really focus on like the month at a time and finishing like, okay, what do I need to finish this month in order to move these goals forward that I want for the year or the quarter. They don't always get done, and it's hard to implement like immediate strategies on those because they feel so like, oh, I have the whole month to do them, but you really need to plan them in, which is why I'm so big on weekly planning and sitting down, and I look at the whole week, right? Here's what I do. And I sit down and I take like my biggest priorities first, which is I'm in a relationship. So I'm like, okay, when is date night? What are we doing this weekend? Do we have plans? Are we going out? Are we going to the mountains first? That you schedule in first. And then I go on to friends and family. And I'm like, okay, is there a birthday party coming up? is there an event that I need to go to? Who have I not seen in a while? Let's make plans, because I didn't do that for so long. And I'm so lucky that so many of my friends like tolerated my insane work schedule and that I was a crazy face for years and didn't manage things well. That they're still my friend, and I'm still so grateful that like, so I see my friends and I made time for this, and we schedule events and we go out. Do that even if you don't have a lot of money, and even if everything is like, just go to the park. Like, it doesn't have to be. That's where I really got stuck, is I was like, every dollar that I made, I felt like had to be reinvested into my work, and that's just not the case, right? Like, I could have like been honest and been like, look, I'm spending everything on my business, every single cent, so we just need to like go hike or something like cheap, you know? But I didn't. My ego got in the way, and it was a bad thing. So don't do that. Schedule in your priorities first. And the people in your life are sometimes a top priority. And if there's no one in your life, because we all go through those periods of time, just spending time chatting with people on Reddit, I don't know, some kind of social thing where you feel, I don't know, whatever, that's another topic for another time. So that's how I schedule. I go in and I do those priorities first, and then I go to my health, and I go, when am I going to the gym? Put it in my calendar, set my calendar to do not disturb, no one can talk to me, I'm going to the gym, period, which is how I live consistently. And I get not always realistic for someone with like a 9 to 5, kids, whatever. I get that I have like a very different life than a lot of people. But I put my health in there first, and I put when I'm cutting off work every day. Now, that I usually blaze through. I'm going to be honest. I usually work late, and I'll get into why. But I do schedule in going to the gym and health, stretching, that kind of stuff in my calendar. Now, that's just like the whole week. And I schedule in like every day, like the top 3 priorities for each day of the week. And that's what I do. And now usually this plan goes into complete chaos by like Tuesday. But I have it, which is way more important than not having it. Believe me, plan anyway, regardless of whatever happens. So each day, for me, time blocking works. Time blocking is a really big thing that I finally got into, and like blocking out like each single hour on the hour of what I'm doing. Because it helps, the last thing you want to do is wake up in the morning and go, oh, what am I going to work on today? You want that done. You want that planned. Ideally, the night before. I always plan the next day. So I wake up and I just get to work on the things that matter most. Right away, I don't have time for planning in the morning. I just got to get to work. Because sometimes on the mornings when I like dick around and I'm like, oh, what should I work on today? All of a sudden it's like 10:30 and I like didn't get anything done. Whereas opposed to when I have it planned and I have it written out, I'm like, I need to do X, Y, and Z first thing in the morning. And then, so because of that, so much of my work is done by 11 a.m. every morning, because I get up at 5 or 6 in the morning. So much of it, and like I don't have a commute, like there's a lot of things in there that I get. So I've already put in like 5 hours of work by 11 a.m. every day. Like I've already done 5 solid hours of work. So time blocking, this is why that's so important, because I have each block of my life that's really important, each area that needs focus each week, and I put it in there. Now, it doesn't always work, but it's in there, so I know from like 5 to 6, I'm working on putting out fires that have been injected in my schedule, or emails that require a longer response time. It's in there. Like all of these things, write out every single thing that you do in a week, and like categorize and batch them into time blocks. That really works for me. I don't know if that works for everybody, but it works for me. Because I'm of the mindset that if it's in your calendar, it doesn't exist. Like if you say that like your family's a priority, and then you look in your calendar and your family's like nowhere in your calendar, then it's not a priority and you're lying to yourself, and you need to fix it either one way and start admitting to yourself like, I don't care about going to the gym right now. Like it's not a priority. And I have those months where I'm like, this is not a top priority. So it's gonna go out of my schedule. Or you need to sit down and put things in your calendar that really actually matter to you. I don't care if it's reading for 20 minutes. Put it in your schedule. Put it in your schedule. Do not just think like, oh, I'm going to get to it. Schedules. This is mainly me just like raging at like younger me who was like, no, I'm a freelancer. I don't follow a schedule. That's like why I'm a freelancer. So I don't have to like follow a Shut up, younger me. You're being a brat and you need a schedule. Anyway, this is what happens when you've been freelancing for a decade. You can like look back on like all of your mistakes. Every day, getting to the nitty gritty, here's how it breaks down. I work on what's most important to me. I don't check my email and I don't check social media first thing in the morning. I just don't. And the days I do, my productivity and my happiness just like plummet. So I avoid those at all costs. And I work on what matters most to me. Sometimes that's screenplay writing, sometimes that's blogging, sometimes that's like usually passion projects are in this little chunk of like 1 hour first thing when I wake up in the morning. So they get done, because for a long time I would put them off and I'd be like, oh, at the end of the day, but like it's not a good idea. I don't start with client work first thing in the morning, because then you start to feel like you're working for other people, and that's not the point of like life. You need a life in your freelancing more than anything. So whatever those top priorities are to you, I don't care, going to the gym, reading, praying, taking your dog for a walk, like whatever those top priorities, do that first. I don't care what and if your day has to start at 5, then you're up at 4:30. Fit it in before you do anything. Unless you're a night owl, then like bless, and like I used to be and now I'm not, because the world doesn't operate on my time. So do whatever. But so it matters most to me. And then right off the bat, before I get into client work, I do marketing. Now, a lot of people are shocked like that I still outreach to clients and I still network and I still keep in contact, and I'm like always hunting for work. I am always hunting for work. There's no problem with continuously hunting. And by hunting, I mean like, you know, you're reaching out to past clients, you're keeping tabs on like people you want to work with, you're sending emails, you're maybe even cold direct pitching, or you're like, you know, reaching out to other clients if they have other friends that like need work, like constantly. It's always better to be in a position of saying that your schedule is too full than be at the opposite of that, where you're like, I have no work and I can't pay my bills. Because dry spells happen. I've had clients who like, oops, I got pregnant, I'm not gonna work anymore, you know, or like I'm taking 9 months off, and there goes a whole contract. Or clients who are like, oh yeah, like my business isn't selling as much as like I would like to. One client I was on retainer for like thousands of dollars a month was just like, yeah, you know, like I'm just take some time off, and like, you know, great. And there went thousands of dollars a month. Like, thank God I was okay. But I'm just saying, like, be ready. Just because you have a contract and just because a client swears that they're going to keep paying you, don't trust it. Keep the pipeline continuously flowing, because you have no idea what kind of will come from those networks, which is why Never Eat Alone is a great book on networking. Now, I know a lot of writers like don't like to talk to people, which relatable content, even though I'm apparently an extrovert. I did one of those tests and I was like, oh, okay. But so anyway, long story short, continue marketing, whether that means blogging, networking, social media, outreach on, and don't just stay on social media and start like talking to your friends. Like, get on there with the purpose of work and finding work. Stay very focused and send like, I don't know, a good ballpark is like 10 pitches a day, like 10 lukewarm like outreach emails, and not just like, hi, hire me, but like, you know, reaching out to past clients and like keeping tabs on things, going on LinkedIn and commenting on boards, like all of these kinds of things. And I'll have a future video on like my daily, like how I keep track of all of this, which is a system that is slowly developing, that started as a nightmare and slowly turning into less of a nightmare. Anyway, and then from there, I finally get into client projects, which is like 10 a.m., you know, and from like, I stop work at 11, and then I walk my dog, I have lunch, I like do other little projects here and there until about 3, and then I get back to work. And like I've said, because I've already got like 5 hours under my belt, I only need to work like until 6. Sometimes I work later. I try and keep really hard to like an 8-9 ballpark hour day because I like to cut work early on Fridays and I don't work weekends. I've put a really hard line in the sand this year on I don't work weekends. Sometimes I'll respond to like emails here and there on the weekend if I'm around, but I'm really, really big on my weekends are for me and they're for my social life and having a life in general, like going out, seeing new restaurants, like that's the one thing I really, really wish I could have fixed. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, that's my day in the life. Wake up, my own projects, networking, client work, and like client stuff and emails and all of that. Like, here and there, big chunks of blocking time. That's why I'm like, there's no secret. But implementing the psychology of putting your own priorities and your life and your family and your friends and like your priorities first is something that like so few people do, even people who are not freelancers, people who are everything, like, and it's hard. Like, that's why I said the pillar of stability, because when that is in chaos and you don't have enough money and like someone in your family is sick, something I've personally dealt with in recent history, that's like thrown your life into absolute chaos of, because you can't control it, so that's like why it's so hard also, but like the stress of it. And so pillar of stability, get everything, get all the things like calm and happy in your life, which is hard. Time block out what matters and focus with the most intensity you've ever had, but you can only do it for a handful of hours a day, which is why copywriters usually make more money than a lot of other people, because the research and the focus that is required to put together copy is not like blogging and is not like anything else. My poor students who are in my mentoring program are realizing this, and some of them are emailing me like, this takes so much more focus and intensity than like I had any idea. And I'm like, yes, that is exactly right. That's why copywriting is such a different beast than blogging and other types of writing, because the research and the focus and putting it all together is not just some like, oh, I'm just gonna sit down and like write what I feel. Like, whew. So that is it. So as always, long video. Here we are. But I feel like I had to explain that before I just got on here. I was like, you just time block your time and focus, and that's it. Good luck. Like, I hate those videos. I'd rather just like give you everything, and then you can take what nuggets work for you or take what nuggets don't. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them below. I think I covered everything that's like generally the most important parts. And the last thing is a big thing of like cutting work at a certain point in your day, of just like saying like, I'm done working and I'm done thinking about work. You need to spend time with your family and your loved ones at the end of the day, even if it's just yourself and you just want to like play Minecraft. Minecraft is so fun. And like just take time for yourself, but like you swear you're done thinking about work. Read deep work and you'll understand why this is so important, because he's so right. Oh my god, I'm gonna do like a holiday giveaway and give away all my favorite books at like Christmas time. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please leave comments below. New videos coming soon. I can't believe I've actually published like more than one video this whole year. Wow, don't me. Anyway, bye guys.